This is going to hurt. Okay, hold still. Ready?
Hi, real quick, just want to say I had a whiteboard and stuff planned, but like it wasn't very coherent and people kept like messing with it, so that's why there's not really any live action footage of me. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this because it was a little easier, but I also really like the big whiteboard thing, so we'll see about that in the future. Anyways, on to Darian Quilloy's analog horror series, Vita Carnis, which is one of the best I've ever seen, not just on the internet, but I think in general at being horror, but also really good, just really good to watch and try to piece together. It has great world building. It's really scary at time when it needs to be, and the effects are amazing. It really is just the whole package of analog horror that I would love to see. And well, let's just get into our funny men of the mystery meat in Vita Carnis. The first official video is a completion of the previous 6, which is a documentary about the Carnis. In the first documentary, we learn about the Carnis, how they just randomly appeared one day and they haven't left, and we are told that they are solely from Earth, not demons or aliens. We then are told of the most basic Carnis, the crawl. We're explained to you that the crawl spawns the other Carnis. It is also great for the environment as animals can eat it and be healthy. Then, when those animals die, it is good for compost and nutrition. The crawl, when it dies, is also good compost. People sometimes put it in food, but most find it unappetizing. We then also see an article about the crawl growing on a radio tower.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
The second one is my personal favorite creature, and I'm so mad I missed the plushie, because I just did not check the channel after season 1 ended for a few months. But it's the Trimming. Trimmings are like sad meat turtles, and none of them usually look the same. It is very rare for any Trimming to look alike in the same way. They don't eat people, and will eat anything, and are no larger than, say, a basketball. Trimmings split off the crawl and set off. Some keep them as pets, and they scream when threatened and flee. They are at the bottom of a food chain, lower than a rabbit. But they remain alive because the crawl just makes so much of them. We then see an article about how a Trimmings gathered under a satellite dish.
Kept you waiting, huh?
The meat snake is covered in a membrane protecting its organs. It will only eat dead things, or dead meat. Meat snakes are immune to disease. A meat snake is the only non-crawl Carnis to reproduce. It does this via mitosis. It switches skulls between the last thing it ate. We see an article about how a group of soldiers found the largest meat snake ever, and how it's suspected to involve cult activity.
Darian.
The Mimic. The Mimic has a diet of exclusively human flesh. They start off small when they separate from the crawl, but eventually they grow into the size of a human. They're like humans, but with no skin. With exaggerated features, they have a wide smile that we are told is purely coincidence. They contort themselves to hide in houses, and hide in furniture and closets. When a mimic has lots of food, it becomes an elder mimic, black flesh, and a pale face. If it has a nice flow of food that isn't too much, the skin darkens and it grows hair to look and patches the skin to look more like human. We then see a woman attacked by a mimic, and one of my favorite moments from the series was one of the best effects in internet horror. also told we cannot kill a moon.
Be still, my heart. I can tell who's knocking at my door. Love has come to say that we must part. Be still, my heart. Just read those eyes, trembling lips that don't know where to start. Even though you know they're telling lies, be still, my heart.
I'm the fucking Joker. I make fucking cool jokes.
The Harvester. The Harvester is a bulbous mast with bare trap-like roots that, if set off, will inject venom and poison into the prey. Then, the prey will bleed out on the ground. After bleeding out, and the venom will stop the blood from clotting. After bleeding out, tendrils will come out and drag the creature and now dead prey to the ground to be fully digested. Or at least, maybe dead. It could still be alive. It will not attack smaller animals, as the theory says it would waste too much energy, and the prey can lure in bigger, more tasty creatures. Authorities refuse to remove them, but do put a warning. The mortality rate of a harvester is 100%. We then see an article about a family who was attacked by one.
I deceived them. You have a party!
The host of influence, his name is derived from a party host, not a parasite. It has human-like head, arms, and neck, but no other similarities. It will release spores which, when inhaled, will cause the infected to walk to the host and be used for food. The effects will wear off after 36 hours if you have not reached the host or if you're not treated. The host, if it is unsatisfied with this area, will uproot and leave. The Monoliths. They appeared on an island in the Bay of Canada in 1972. Only 7 exist, and they stand in a circle. They are made of long meat ropes. They are planted deep in the earth. And once, when the government went to them and attacked, one of them roared, launching an EMP blast. We see a monolith with lightning as it flails. The Singularity is a black orb 1 meter in diameter, has several undefined qualities and a red mist within it. It simply floats in the air and sends off electrical signal readings.
It's raw. What's the matter with you?
Cook at home kitchen cheese crawl penne begins with someone flipping through TV channels. We see an arrest warrant for Vincent Barrea. One sec, I'm gonna actually see how that's pronounced. Right, Canadian and French, Barrera, for Vincent Barrera. He's important to one of my theories later. The Canadian CSIS want him. We then see this very cold penne. Look, Darian, I love the effects in this series, but this one was not it. That water is not boiling at all. That is so cold. Oh my god. Darian, I love your series. This one is the one thing I will always have a gripe with. Why didn't you just cook the pasta? Or at least boil the water. It looks so cold. The cheese is not melting ever. I still love it though. We are told to make it with noodles, crawl, cheese, green onion sauce, Cajun spice, parsley, dill pepper, dill, garlic, pepper, and the Nutri-Go flavor enhancer. It looks oddly like a host spore. We see the cooker as he pours the noodles into the pan, wearing a gas mask and gloves. And when the enhancer is added, the music goes a little odd.
At this point, finish preparing the dish with your flavor enhancer, but allow your dish to cool to a temperature below 60 degrees Celsius.
A thing to remember is trimmings are nocturnal and make plenty of noise.
In Trimming Care Guide, we learn how to feed our trimming by giving it garbage, and to keep it nice and cool, and to tell it information about our day and let it listen to the radio. We are also told that Trimmings are social creatures, so to tell it anything you can and to let it talk with other Trimmings. We also learned Trimmings are nocturnal creatures, so to let it go to bed early so that it doesn't make so much noise throughout the night.
Closer inspection of the blockage revealed that the mass was actually an extremely engorged meat snake.
In Meat Snake Specimen, we learn of the largest meat snake ever. It was found in a tunnel after World War II had ended. When a team went around it, they found a pile of bones. It had 8 or 7 skulls within its mouth, like teeth. Its skin was dark, like an elder mimic's almost. It was uncut. It was barely even able to be taken off. In Mimic Defense Tape, we are told that we can kill mimics by shooting them now. Did information change, or is this tape lying? We also see some mimics wearing clothes tied. Among Us. Anyways, we see evidence tape for Christopher and Janice Grady in 1983. We are told to watch this tape, then destroy it, and all its copies. These people go looking for a mimic to film it. They get killed, first the guy, but the woman manages to make it home, but is killed and dragged away. I'll admit, I love the setup. The costume is a bit goofy, but I see what Darian was going for and I love it. We then see or hear someone breathing. By the breath, it's a man. He then loads a gun. He's most likely the one watching these tapes. My guess is he's Vincent. It's also at some point mentioned that someone died in a trailer nearby for using it. Personally, I think it was Vincent's father. In Species Anomaly Report, we see the Carnis moving more to the island of Monoliths. We hear a mother and kid walking, then running, and we hear the kid get crabbed by a harvester. We then see him kind of melting. We hear the mother die as they scream together. We see a photo of a family of 4, but 2 are now blacked out. I assume this is the Bear outfit.
Put that candy back, I'm not buying you all that mess. Oh, try me, bitch.
In Flavor Enhancer, we see an ad for the Flavor Enhancer, which we are told is True Savor. We are also told to cook it below 60 degrees Celsius, which is usually when molds or spores die. Or maybe those spores. The ad then loops over and over, becomes distorted, and the narrator sounds worse in quality, and a high-pitched noise starts before it ends.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay! Serious crap!
In Uncovered Documents, we see someone analyzing the Flavor Enhancer Deluxe on ants. We see New Triers is facing charges after people got sick after eating the enhancer. They ignore these claims. We see a man with the badge with the symbol of the New Trier Co bottle. We see a group of people with the symbol. We see x-rays of the ants affected by cordyceps. Perhaps the enhancer is a mix of cordyceps and host spores to control people slowly or make them dumber and more easily manipulated. We then learn of a group called Carnis, which is clashing with the government to fight the Carnis.
I've come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch.
You might be confused as to why you received this package. This was left to you because we share a common goal. I'm aware that you studied Carnis and researched their properties. I'm also aware that you have received backlash for doing so. Something isn't as it seems, and you know this too. Unexplained phenomena, countless casualties, missing persons, fatalities, and yet no proper action, and a notable silence about these affairs. People are afraid and confused. Why is nothing being done? Because they don't want us to know. We've been kept in the dark, while those above us slither and miss the blind. situation. I've collected these pieces and found their loose ends. This is why I've left this message to you. The documents included with the statement is all the information that I have gathered. Every continuity, every cover-up, every crime that I could find. They all lead here. Something has been going on these few years. Something big. Something they don't want us to know about. Here's where you come in. I don't have the power to change things, but you do. Alongside the documents are plans. Plans for a meeting, one of great importance. You have the resources. This information I've provided to you. I hope you can put a stop to all the scandals. I just hope it isn't too late.
Shut that fucking door, guy!
In Facility Zero, we see Carnis launching an operation. Throughout the video, they run into a cult base on the island in the coast of Canada, and it turns out there are 7 Singularities, and they manage to steal them from the cult and arrest all the members.
No! Not into the pit! It burns!
Throughout the episodes of Season 1, you were shown pages from Storybook in little freeze frames. Now, there are a few pieces missing from each page, but this is the general idea of what was said. Once upon a time, there was a distant kingdom. The kingdom was... The royal family were magical. They traveled the sea to discover new places and learn what. During the travels of one of their expeditions, a great storm struck. It was so powerful, it swayed the boat. The royal family rowed and pulled the prince out into the sea. After being stranded at sea, the young prince eventually was cast to an island. Injured, the prince stumbled his way into a nearby cave. The prince used what magic he could to put himself into a healing sleep. But the prince's sleep was long. He slept for what seemed like forever. As he slept, the land around him changed and grew. It was unrecognizable from when the prince first arrived. But the sleep still needed time to heal the prince. Much more time. But it kept the prince safe while he rested, guarding him from the elements as the land changed. Outside the cave during a time of hardship lived the island critters. The critters were struggling in this hard time. There was barely any food to go around. They would go and gather what they could. Although one day, the critters found the cave while searching for food. They found the prince in his trance, in his healing sleep. The critters were so awestruck and enchanted by the prince's magic.
Who is this creature?
Why are they here?
Are they dangerous?
A thought was brought up. What if this creature could use its magic to help them? It may grow food, or heal sickness. They continued to argue about the prince and his magic. In the end, the majority of the critters agreed that the prince was dangerous and should not be meddled with. Although the other critters ignored the rest of their fellow kind. Instead, they secretly visited the slumbering visitor. They snuck what little food they had, and carefully fed it to the prince, greatly hastening their recovery. One day, the prince awoke suddenly. Thanks to the critter's assistance, the healing process had finished very quickly. The prince had fully recovered, was now fully awake and aware of their surroundings. Surprised by the sudden awakening, the critters ducked and hid from the prince's sight. One of the critters built up the courage to meet the now awakened stranger. They crawled to the prince's side and extended their hand in friendship. The prince reached back. Together, they had formed the bond that will change their fate. The critters led the prince out of the cave and up the top of the hill the prince had been buried under, and showed him the forest.
This is our home, full of wonder and beauty. Although the forest struggles to provide us, for us all creatures. And we are facing disaster. Can you help us?
The prince stood back, spread his arms, and before him grew bright light, mystical shapes and colors, lights and figures. The critters watched with wide eyes. Such sublime brilliance! The prince completed his display. He vowed with the power he held and the help of his kingdom, he shall heal their home. The prince gathered what he could and set sail onward. Once the prince returns home, they will come back to the island and return to the critters. One day, while the king, at long last the prince, a new land in which, and now they know. Now, what does this book mean? Well, we know that there are 7 singularities now, and I think the book means the cult found the singularity that was on Earth. A singularity was on Earth and fed it meat or whatever it eats. That Singularity had left and brought back 6 more, who scattered around the world. The cult then gathered them, and during the ritual, Carnis busted in, took the Singularities, and killed or arrested the cult. What does that mean? The king mentioned in the story? I'm unsure, but maybe this ritual would have seen 7 Singularities, each go into one of the Monoliths. Then perhaps the king comes to Earth and, I don't know, eats it? I don't really know the end goal here, but it's probably not good for humanity.
We're doing a sequel. We're back by popular demand.
In New Beginnings, we begin with the news report that a large group of cultists was apprehended in the restricted zone where the Monoliths are, including the cult leader, military veteran Simon Vanguard. He was the one leading some form of ritual sacrifice. Multiple high-ranking members were politicians of many governments in the world. The charges we see are murder, kidnapping, torture, fraud, ritual sacrifice, and chemical weaponry, as well as providing false information to the public with intent to cause harm. Trimmings company has been shut down for collusion. We see more crimes that were hidden exposed, more mimics are appearing unchecked, and people are rioting to have something done about the Carnis. We then see the Singularity sitting in the lab. It starts flipping through TV channels. We then meet Magister, host of Magister's Wonder Show. He teaches great scientific lessons. The first one we are taught is the Circle of Life. We then meet Dr. Marshall Trados, head director and doctor of Carnis. This progress report on the Singularity was made on the 30th of June, 1991. I may accidentally mess up dates because America is the only country that really structures it month-day year, but Darian, who's Canadian, does day-month-year, so I'll try my best, but there's a chance my brain just forgets. We see there is little progress in the nature of these funny orbs. The material they are made from is still unknown, but looks and feels like glass. They don't sample it so they do not accidentally cause damage. They release pulses of energy and rhythmic, yet also random patterns. They don't know what they are or whether they are alive or organic. The first experiment showed is when around electronics, some interference occurs, especially if it is more than one electronic. The latest experiment involved putting a cow in the room with V1. It was minimal in activity from its spirit. The cow was so stressed and scared. Probably had to figure out what the heck this thing even was. Next, they put a dead cow in the room for 24 hours. The results showed the cow melts in the crawl in 5 hours. Completely flips the Carnis life chart on its head. We then flip through more channels showing rotting and death. Magister then shows us a beetle's lifespan. We then get a log from Dr. Rhodes Sayre, crawl specialist, and head cultivator. The log was made on July 21st, 1991. It's a progress report of the crawl samples grown in 3 different environments. One on an empty table, one on a table with additional fruits and nutrients, and one with a radio. We see the empty one grow on par with normal crawl. Group 2 grew faster, as expected. Group 3 grow against the normal patterns to grow to the radio. Once it covered it, it grew into its normal patterns. There are no abnormalities to the scientists, but to us, the Carnis are now 100% drawn to radio waves. This brings the doctor to the conclusion that there are no crawl abnormalities made by being grown from V1. The group set to see how it produces nodes and they had them appear at faster rates. By a few days, so far, no abnormalities to the roads themselves, but they did have 7 trimmings, 2 meat snakes, and 1 mimic. They will be sent to the enclosures. We see more footage of animals being killed as well as a radio dish and a fertilizer ad. We then get a log from Dr. Fawn Petitro, the trimming specialist, from August 31st, 1991. It's a test on learning the social patterns of the trimmings. We see the newly hatched trimmings were put with the already being studied colony. These trimmings were almost naked in the way they look. The white bits are odd, as if they have skin over the flesh, which shouldn't be right as trimmings don't have skin, so it's probably just like pigmentation. They were all immediately accepted into the community, however. We see the trimmings communicating with their voices. They aren't afraid to show they're a little upset. They make a chewing or chattering motion when they are happy. Oh my god, I love them. The next experiment being performed is to learn their communication skills. They took a trimming and put it in an enclosure and had 2 audio cues. An audio cue that's positive to have a treat be given, and a negative cue that sprays a small stream of cold water. They did several rounds of both to condition it. No, don't hurt the poor baby. see it eventually begin to dry and hide from the water after a few sprays. It was then put back with the colony, and after a few hours, they tested the audio cue to see how much they communicated. It was all crazy. When the positive cue is played, they look excited, but the negative one, they tuck away into their little hidey holes, trying not to get sprayed despite there being no water. The team then tried something bizarre. A wild colony had settled around the facility recently. What the team did was strange, but hey, science is meant to be strange. They put a radio tower near the two colonies, linked them up, and played the cues. The wild colony had the same reactions. Now, what does this mean? Well, in my opinion, it isn't a hive mind. Some people think it's a hive mind, but I personally think it means Trimmings can talk to each other through any radio wave. We also know that the Trimmings gathered on a radio dish, which means that they might have been listening to the Singularity speaking through radio waves. Magister then shows us a bird eating a beetle. We then see the beetle lay eggs, and life continues.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
We begin flipping through channels. We see a trimming beauty pageant. We then see our friend Magister, who's telling us about fossils. Maybe we might even learn about some dino DNA. Our next log is by Dr. Asrim Griffiths, the meat snake specialist. Oh gosh, I'm so immature. This log was made on the 31st of March, 1992. We are told that the meat snake recreation project and that a subject was grown in standard activity until maturity. It was then put into bond and placed on a table, and twice per day they fed it. 4 days in, it mellowed out, moving from semi-aggression when fed to patient eagerness as it realized it was just being given food and didn't have to expend any energy. But it started to slow down and reject food. They realized they were overwhelming it and moved to larger portions, but only feeding it 1 time a day. By day 19, it almost stopped moving entirely. It was no longer reacting to anything external. They had to make a mechanism to help it eat. The skin is starting to darken. On day 21, it reached a point of sampling. There is an odd glitch at 240. Let's start with cold resistance. This sample survived down to -100 degrees Celsius. Still maintained flexibility. Next was heat test, which stood 3,000 degrees Celsius, where they had to change the equipment to make it hotter. Then it stood up to 5,000 degrees Celsius. Sample testing was interrupted when the subject escaped by pouring mitosis, and the 2 organisms were just wandering around the lab exploring. The project has been paused, and the snakes were put back in the enclosure. Magister then teaches us about using sieves to catch large debris. He also tells us to add more layers and try to catch more things. We see the winner of the beauty pageant is Patty, who has black-colored flesh and a face that looks like a skull, almost like a meat snake, but trimming. We then get a log from the mimic expert Dr. Farron Brones from September 20th, 1992. This month's progress report was late by a few months. He's researching mimic forms. The juveniles are feisty little guys who show instincts similar to other ambush predators. They try to catch smaller prey by surprise. Once they get bigger, they get cockier. They have the technique to back it up as well, as they go for the neck or throat to kill fast as they can. Once they metamorphosis, their patterns are hard to recognize. We see them dissecting and metamorphosizing Mimic, who is dead now due to the process being halted. They do not get a very long time with adult mimics that they get. They hide away, rejecting any food because they only will eat humans, so they all starve to death. They also only like to eat what they hunt. The ones that they get from the wild last a little longer due to having eaten a few people. They got a few humanoid adults. Oh. So that's how they are noticed with skin and hair. They can learn a bit before they whittle away. The hunting tactics change drastically. Hunting takes longer so they can observe prey. They are very cautious, waiting for the best moment to strike. The current tactic most used by mimics is hiding themselves in furniture. So mimics got like a metagame strategy, I guess. Even though they are very tall, they can fold themselves tightly into small spaces. It wasn't even known that this could happen until the 70s. Before they were even called mimics, they were called butchers. These tactics are shown to be confusing. No one has ever gotten it right in telling the public what they do, since they are always changing. Ever since the announcement in 1986, it keeps changing. It's 100% random. Human testing is a no-go according to Carnis. even if Brones volunteered himself to observe them in person. The Magister shows us all of the things he found in his sheath, and then says make sure your mesh isn't damaged or else something might slip through. Is this like a metaphor or something? Well, on November 27th, 1992, we found out that an incident with V1 occurred during a cleanup. The camera is covered by some crawl, but we switched to one that isn't. We hear what is the janitor's yelp. He's seemingly grabbed by something. He cries for help. His leg is bleeding. Medical assistant helps him off the ladder. He cries in pain. We see the room goes dark and V1 starts shaking. The camera distorts as the man screams. The team is told to get him out. This guy got turned to crawl, I think, because Darian liked this tweet I made.
Hey, so I'm coming back later. You wouldn't? I think Darian just thought my tweet was funny.
In a secret video, hidden in the description of Revealed Progress, it is the backward Caesar cipher titled Foolish Ambitions. It takes place on the 5th of January, 1991. It is the interrogation of Simon Vanguard. Simon's silent for most of the questions. The questions asked are, can you tell us how you became out of the cult? No response. Was your service and possible trauma part of why you did this? No answer. How did you become connected with the politicians in New Trier Co? No response. The mention of the railway tunnel, 1945, where the engorged meat snake was, however, didn't trigger a response until this had once told the Singularities were used by Carnis. Simon calls them fools, saying they don't understand. You don't understand. He says not to question their will. Also, the interrogator has so much sass, it's so amazing. Simon says we must follow their will, their great vision, their great light. When asked about his vision, Simon says we must do as they say, not question it, as it's all for something greater than us. He starts writhing, saying he devotes himself to the great truth, to stray from darkness, to meet the light, for wonder and wisdom. He begins to stand, knocking the camera over. He says he serves his Lord. We hear the interrogator call for security, and Simon yells that they will all see. We will all see! During the outburst, he tries to get out of his leg restraints. A little info is learned about Simon and his motives. He does look like this now. At the start of first contact, we see this pulsing red mass. We hear these deep, rumbling noises, seemingly coming from the inside of the Singularity. We see what the computers witnessed on the events at the end of Revealed Progress, where V1 through 7 were all reacting like V1 was. We see Magister teaching about the electromagnetic spectrum. We see the Singularities are now stabilized and someone is sent to inspect the chambers. We see that V1 is a lot more active. Their communicators are freaking out and we hear this deep, monstrous voice. Singularity in the room, we flip through channels and speed run the documentary. Magister then explains that the waves travel through the air and reach the antenna. Okay, so I was wrong about the cleaner becoming crawl or goo. He was just caught between the ladder steps and snapped his femur. Besides unusual bruising and clotting, the cleaner is now stable. During the injury, V1 was irritated, and the investigators in the chamber heard from their transceivers lots of chaotic noises. But they could understand some coherent speech. Dr. Trados then put a walkie-talkie connected to the chamber to try to talk with V1. The way it speaks is very vague, and it doesn't always answer the questions it's asked. But then they switch to an alarm clock radio. When asked what it is, it says, "We to you." When asked to explain, they say they feel, suffer, thrive, and purpose. It says, "We are," then it's cut off. When asked about the connections to the Carnis, they say, "Made to life, hate to pain, figures, dancing, sleep, feel, feed, grow." His answers are super vague. V1 then says it's curious. It asks what the radio is, and once told it is called radio, it repeats the name and says, "Yes." They call radios and the transmissions of radio waves brilliant. V1 asks to see more. We then flip through more TV channels, and we see inside this black void and hear some red bubbling stuff. We're inside a Singularity. We hear a conversation of someone asking Trudence if this is really the best interest to give the orbs what they want. Trudence says it's the biggest breakthrough in history. Representatives of the UN will come in a few days to view the progress, and if they are impressed, they could get funding to see how far they can go. We then learn for all future tests, a radio will be present to allow personnel to ask questions. On the 28th of November, we hear a conversation between Singularities, but it is undecipherable what they said to the scientists, however. I was able to understand V5 at 9 minutes and 12 seconds, as it said, "How is this happening? Happening to us?" We then learned the Singularity's personalities, which are all different. But what they do have in common is a fascination with devices, especially radio. And they are all interested in entertainment, especially classical music. V1, when given multiple devices, still does not talk much and only says singular words never directed to people. It's more interested in the devices than people. You see V1 flipping through the TV and see glimpses of the storybook and other things. You see more of the documentary with V1 speaking in the background. You now know it's V1 slipping through the channels. V2 is very curious in nature, descriptive in its wording. They are eager to do testing. V3 is more active but engages minimally with personnel. V4 is actively engaging with personnel but is a lot more interested in asking the questions about the people instead of doing tests. V5 is more expressive out loud. It only talks to itself and hasn't interacted with personnel yet. V6 does not engage out loud, and if it does, it's only with incoherent noise. It engages minimally with personnel. V7 doesn't interact with anything but technology, and only talks to other singularities. On the 3rd of December 1993, the UN arrived. We then see Dr. Trudens talking about the test room and asking for support to help with the research. The room goes red. The singularities in the room tampers with the tech in the room begins speaking. It then begins speaking. Join us. Over and over. Just asking them to join them. Screen distorts. It sounds like at the end, he almost says, "Become one."
Fall.
This video is actually titled A Backward Caesar Cipher. It was hidden in first context description. It is called Surface of the Waters. The entire video is simply a screaming skeleton that the audio, when translated and reversed, I don't remember how people did it, but people deciphered it, and it says essentially this: "We thought we were bright. We thought we were smart. We tried to reach the sky, and now we fall. Now you let me die. We dug too deep. We dug too far. Our ego is the end of us. Now let me hang. Let me down. No time. No we." It cuts off. To start, there was green text that read, August 30th, 1992. Notable events. Increase of Vita Carnis population around the facility. Minor earthquakes near facility 0. More interference than usual when testing with singularities. Continue maintenance and keep watch for more events. At the very end of the video, a second wall appears. May 3rd, 1995. Things are getting bad. More new hires die coming in to replace missing personnel. I worry I will be next. Blank was right. We should never have continued our work here. They are neglecting even basic procedures now. They are building something. I will send you what I can. I own a musket for mimic defense, since that's what the founding fathers intended. Imagine it. 4 mimics break into my house. What the devil? I say as I grab my powdered wig and Kentucky rifle. I blow a golf ball-sized hole through the first mimic's head. He's dead on the spot. I draw a pistol on the second mimic, and miss him entirely because it's smooth bore. I nail the neighbor's trimming. In my retreat, I have to resort to the cannon, mounted at the top of the stairs, loaded with grape shot. Tally-ho, lads, I say as the grape shot shreds 2 mimics in the blast. The sound and extra shrapnel set off car alarms. Finally, as the last mimic is panicking from all the noise, I fix bayonet and charge it. It bleeds out pinned to the wall as I'm waiting for the police to arrive, since the triangular bayonet wounds are impossible to stitch up, just as the founding fathers intended. The last episode on our list is Terminal Rally, which I think has become one of my favorite episodes of any horror series I've ever seen. Terminal Rally begins with an email from someone named B. It asks the recipient to go to an area where one of his researchers are missing. He has been missing for 4 months. He was sent on field research, and B is aware that he might miss a few reports, but felt something was wrong. Whoever this recipient knows the area well. We then get a report from Dr. Farron Brones, who specializes in mimic study. He tells us that before the final stage of a mimic's life cycle, mimics hide in clothes and try using words to lure people close. They don't have a wide vocabulary, but they have one nonetheless. But they can be multilingual, very smart. He has not yet ever found an elder mimic. There's only been one clear sighting of an elder mimic ever recorded, and the one they had for testing was killed. They are clueless about them. the next log, he gets to go into the field. He has sensors, cameras, and some of his own creations of his own making. We then get his videotapes about his setup. He plans to hide in a locked room while mimics roam around the house. He has sensors to know what room they are in, and so he can watch them from the cameras. He also has a walkie-talkie to listen to their sounds. We see him open a door, and standing there, looking down the stairs, is an elder mimic. We see it is crouching down, and it is half the size of the damn door and hallway. Its arm goes halfway down the stairs. Dr. Burns correctly rushes the door to be shut and locks it. He is now trapped inside the house with an elder mimic. However, he only has about 20 days of rations and hopes someone will be sent to get him. Saying this out loud was a bad decision because I'm 90% sure the radio was on, which means the elder mimic probably knows that he has a time limit for how long it can play this game. He then, while sitting, says there's a legend about elder mimics. Some say they are God's ultimate warriors, and thus they are the perfect killing machine. Varen then wonders what he's gotten himself into. On day 9, there's no movement detected, so he plans to leave, and needs to be careful. We then see the elder mimic is right outside, and Jesus, it's massive! Its face is half the size of the damn door. He then shoots at it as it bangs on the door, and he just shoots it in the face point blank, and I think that's based, as it screams. After a few more days, it busts down the door and eats Dr. Brones. Now, how did it know where he was, and at first, well, I think it was the walkie-talkie. We know that Singularities can talk through the radio waves, and we know that Trimmings can probably at least listen and most likely talk as well. So who's to say that all the Carnis can't do this? On the 17th of February, 1995, the footage was recovered from Farron's camera, and all his other equipment and supplies were gone. We end with the message from V. I'm sorry to say that things are much more dire than expected. Be careful. Okay, so the Elder Mimic appears to be at the same house where the Mimic defense tape was. And you could say, oh, Darian just doesn't have another house. But Darian made puppets, costumes, and tons of great practical effects for the series. He disguises a room in his house as a laboratory for the little meat snake thing. I think if he didn't want it to be connected, he would have disguised the house a bit more. So this possibly creates the idea that mimics may stay in an area if people keep coming back, which means people have been being sent to that house to be eaten for years. So the Elder Mimic in Terminal Rally that ate Dr. Brones could possibly, this is a big possible, be the Mimic from Mimic Defense Tape, but that's a big jump, and that would just be cool little details. It doesn't affect the lore all that much.
Disappointment in the game of life!
I wanted to do a whole section on theories, but there weren't a whole lot of theories I didn't scarcely mention, or any theory I thought of. I couldn't figure out how to word it right, so I just scarcely sprinkled them out throughout the video. But there is one that I want to bring up. Vincent Barrera is V and watched the Season 1 tapes. So there's only really one named character we ever see in Season 1, and that is Vincent Barrera on the FBI wanted list. Or not FBI, but Canadian FBI. And now, I think the idea of Vincent being the one researching and watching the recordings in Season 1 is a very likely possibility. The reasoning is because we only ever have one character named V, so he's V in Season 2, getting those emails back and forth. And Vincent's mother and younger siblings were probably the ones killed by that harvester in Species Anomaly, which the authorities refused to handle. And Vincent's father was then killed by a mimic, and I'm guessing the authorities weren't very helpful with that either. Now, there is a chance Vincent was involved in making living meat research tapes, but I couldn't find anything confirming or denying this. But it would make sense as the tapes start by saying it's legal to watch the tapes. This could mean Vincent slipped in the little frames that showed little secrets to send into Carnis, but this doesn't have as much evidence to it. Back to the main point of Vincent being V, it makes sense. Why would he track the Carnis if they killed his entire family? Now, who is V? I don't know. We don't have enough information. So, Vincent being V makes sense, because I don't think he would want to stop at simply studying the Carnis. I think he thought Carnis was going to take a harder stance, try to get rid of them, but clearly they didn't. He clearly knows that they are more harmful than good to humanity as a whole, and probably the entire environment in the long run. Unlike Carnis, who simply want to study them and think they're here to stay. So that's why he's messaging B back and forth to be like, oh, this is bad, things are getting bad, I'm gonna keep looking into this, why are things getting worse? Carnis is clearly corrupt or something. And that has been Vita Carnis. Again, just one of the best series on the internet, and I cannot wait to see what else happens. Darian, if you ever see this, you are a master at work. and I am so glad I found this series and have been able to follow it since about, I think, the 2/3 of the way through season 1, so it was really fun to join in then, to figure it all out, and then see what else has happened. And I wish I had a pet Trimming, but none of the other Carnis were real, because Trimmings are the only ones I think are chill. Yeah, the rest of them probably have some evil alternatives, except for my baby boys. And yeah, please subscribe, like, if you want to follow my Twitter, I repost or post whatever I want there whenever I'm bored, or just have time and want to say something stupid. Or sometimes I say something smart, but that's like 1 in a million. But before you do any of that, please subscribe to Darian. He is a master he's just a master of creating a series like this and writing, and I think he deserves more subscribers. He deserves every subscriber. Everyone on YouTube should be subscribed to him. And yeah, catch you next time. And goodbye.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.